Welcome to TradeTheMBI.com. This is John. This report is for the 18th of June. And here we go look at our daily. Okay, so we had our previous cyan candle, expectation higher. For futures, it was nice because we opened up lower and had a nice opportunity to go. But if you were just getting regular like SPY or whatever, still was enough for a small point. The next day, we get the exact same candle. This one led to a much better improvement. And we can see the beginning of the day right here as it's starting to make a little bit of a move. Now, steel did dip below. We still don't have green making a pivot above. We still have, though, red slightly above the white, which is fine. And it's above zero. All good. Except for steel. Cyan, not dipping lower. We need that to be moving lower, so we're still not expecting a ton of improvement, but we had a great run from steel that just really propelled everything. Looks to be fading off here now. It's going to have to be taken over by green and or red moving higher, and if those don't, then we can expect more wishy-washiness back into the same. If we look at it from the MBI Opus, plop that chart up there. So looking at the Iron Hawk, and just went ahead and marked these for you. Just basically took the ATR, which we knew was right here, about 11, a little over 11 points, produces about a 14.5 point expectation. 1937.75. So with price at 1935, within 2.5 points of meeting its target for the Iron Hawk. So just like that, boom, and it'll be there. I know it's taken a few days, but that's no big deal because literally you set and forget. A little more active situation here with the Power Mode 2, and the Power Mode 2 obviously entered way back over here at 24. We mentioned that right about here that you would have plenty of other times to get in. Dipped down all the way to 19. Even gave another couple of opportunities as recently as the other day down at 22 range. And even as much as yesterday was 23.75. Identical, so no excuse not to have been able to take advantage of that. And boom, all the way up to 34.75 as it sits right now. What does that give for gain on those two entries? Easy way to find out. Look at the performance report. Another 10K added to it. That would definitely move us to another set of equity highs. No complaint with any of that. Looking at the NQ, also a little bit of an improvement though. The green took over, steel did not. So kind of a mixed bag because you actually have shorts fading a little bit more on the NQ comparative to the S&P. So let's look at the YM, see what the difference is there. And when we look at the YM, get a little uptick. We've got red above white. We just need to start seeing that move. We need to see steel also get above cyan to give it really the oomph. Obviously, we've had several buy setups within after obviously having the short configuration. Green dot there was projecting 791, 16,791. And then this one was predicting 16,819, and we're at 735. So very within range to get to the 791, and a little bit more for the orange dot one to achieve its ultimate goal. Nothing bad. Oil, a little bit of a fade there, but still that moves it to the safety zone. This has been well within the buy. Obviously, a little bit of an increase in shorts because we got way parabolic. I suggested taking your gains right up there at the top there, and you can just follow down, and you just put in your new buy stop in if it comes back up to it, and you can play it that way. Easy enough. But that gives us an indication. We could see that bonds, having had the deep red, any little pop was not going to be all that terrific. It came crossed over, so we were expecting to see a spider if we didn't get a move into the new zone with the red there. And yeah, a little bit of a dip back, so I'll give it another opportunity. As long as this doesn't dip below the red line, it'd be a nice opportunity to be able to take advantage of the dip back to zero for another run. See how that one plays out. Gold, we obviously had the red. We were waiting for that pull back a little bit, and like we said, it may not be horrible. Right now, though, you do have that spread going between the cyan moving above the green, and that's usually a little bit of negativity going to it. It got bought back up pretty decent within the day there. Did also notice the green was moving below. Euro going nowhere. We weren't expecting it to do anything, though narrowing the range, so we can see that we had our lovely little cone, and now you can see we've moved inside of that. So we're just looking for the potential for change. We'll probably see it first when we get the pivot up on these 3 lines on the extreme histogram, but in general, we can see that the red ready to break into a new zone is going to need to do that if you're going to get the carry through. Otherwise, we're just going to revisit these lows within this range. So nothing too thrilling about currency at this particular point. Decent little pop from X because of that rising red-white. Not expecting it to last too long unless all of a sudden you get an improvement from green popping up there. AIG just doing fine. Had been within that safety zone, cyan below, all of it. No objections. In fact, we had the orange dot was projecting 55.49. Was the high? Did we quite get there? No. 55.35. Just short. CLF, nothing still. We can extend that box. Now it's almost into it with the cyan. Green about to move up into there. Could see a little bit more potential lift from it in this particular spot, but just been weak. Now we're looking for red to get over these last pivots. It's going to have to really make a bump. This is the first time we've had green over the previous pivot in a little bit of time, so that's been the impetus for the move. JCP, we could see from our 78-minute charts, it had its retrace. Yellow dot came in, a little bit of a pump there, came back, produced the next series of buys, and boom, took off from there. And once it crossed over, it just really exploded from that point. And not bad. Can't complain about moves like that. WLT is starting to behave a bit more normal these days now that we're getting the steel back into, well, interestingly enough, safety zone areas, which is not something it's seen in forever and a day. So you can see how the change has gone from the exacerbated end of the world to, all right, it's not the end of the world now. You get new buyers popping back in, and you can see the elevation is taking place with the red and white. And so it's just, you had to wait for it to take place. Can't force it, but you could see as it turned, and we talked about it when it changed once we had the steel dip below where it had not been below in a while. And that's when you finally saw movement take place. It's not that hard to see it when it starts to point itself out. Scroll through the radar screen here real quick. We had lots of activity on some of the alert stocks too, so we'll run through a few of those. But the nice thing about having that NBI Opus set up was didn't have to worry about the daily configuration. That had been decided. Didn't have to worry about the 50K because it wasn't hard to put a stop in there. Weren't likely to see the full end of a profit run on it, especially given that we had a cyan candle, and can let all of those take place without being overly active, because obviously with the beginning of summer here, not all that much activity going on, and despite the minimal news that was taking place, wasn't all that traumatic in general. Apple just been taking care of its overbought status, sitting strongly within that safety zone, and so really weren't worried about that going anywhere. Amazon, it had been suffering through some weakness. Finally, the other day popped up, and so it was just a matter of maybe a day or two that we were looking for to eventually have an impact. Popped up to new highs, but then did close lower. Market holding it up pretty nicely with the general bullishness. So Baidu doing just fine within that configuration. FAS, remember we like the FAS. As long as FAS doing well, we expect the market to do well. And it had its nice little retrace of positive extremes. It finished that out from the safety zone. And then you got both cyan and steel pivoting up at the same time, with shorts giving in a little bit because they were covering after having hit their near targets there. And boom, you get a nice power move. Facebook, we weren't expecting a lot from Facebook here. It's just been kind of in a consolidation flatness, a little bit of weakness after a little bit of a pop. Not horrible, not great, nothing to get excited about. Google was another weak one that we talked about with the negatives going there, and in fact just retracing right back into the zone. That's gotten a little bit deep in there, negative 74 on that. That could have some more weakness associated with it. Netflix is one we've liked for quite a while now, and continues. So being in that safety zone, huge bullish stake within there. The pop-up that happened from before, we liked it as a new buy signal, and sure enough, you can see the result of that new buy signal, and it exploded off there. And it's just a shame people miss these things because they don't pay attention. But those of you who did, you get a nice one from it, just like those who didn't think that we were coming all the way back down to retrace the positive extreme on PCLN, missed out on an easy 100 points plus. And actually showing a negative red there. We did just have a green cross right here. Need to see the steel move above it in order for that to engage in a little bit more power. The red's still fading a little bit, but I like the fact that we've retraced the lows on a higher extreme histogram, and definitely worth beginning to look at it. Not necessarily an option play. You'd have to be more into the shares for that one because it may take a little bit longer to develop and be a little erratic until it breaks out. At least get the green above the previous one. It could happen as early as today. It's just that would become the stronger daily point. You can certainly look at intraday to take advantage of some active ones. Tesla had put in its buy right over here, and we were just counting the 1, 2, 3 as it started to explode, and boom, there it goes. So I know it's an old story, but it's worth telling because it just points out that all you have to do is pay attention, and it doesn't really take all that much other than paying attention. So here you go, Twitter. It's been a slow, steady with that red. Potentially could even mean the sign dipping below red white. Give it just that little bit extra oomph. Kind of needs it because it's really precarious as it flows around here, because if you had negative with the steel for a little bit, that can pivot back up. The green is sort of take over with the red. But you need to see some separation to really get a move. This is just one of those slow, soft, gentle inclines, which are not bad. It's just not all that predictive of a breakout like we saw with the Netflix or anything like that, where it became very definitive what was about to happen. There you have the basics. So looking good. We're just going to continue to keep banking dollars on these, and hopefully we'll get filled on the NBI Opus, finish that one out, and continue to raise the stops on the 50K should we get there. So as always, trade well. Continue to look for me on the private Twitter feed, StockTwits. Trade well.